Hello, everyone. In the last part of the last week lecture, we're going to talk about project last phase, where we considering project closure as the final stage within project management, and this is most important. Many project managers or project team, they basically ignore the last bit, which is quite important to close the project, because project closure is the last phase of finalizing all activities for project management process, or the successful um, finishing or closing a project successfully. So we're going to discuss that what is important to take in consideration in this final phase of the project management activities. So we need to think about all deliverables, the exit criteria they're going to meet before we close the project, transferring all deliverables to customers and the end users. And again, it is important to see if the report to be generated for any recommendation or action to be taken, and any lesson learned to be documented as for a repository for future use. So the key benefit of the process of project closures in this phase is the information we have to collect for developing our repositories as a lesson learned for future. So many practitioners, they overlook the project closing process, or the project team, they don't take it serious by the successful project delivery or completion of the project. And sometimes it is important because the project closing is maybe sometimes taken by the project team as overburden or extra work, and then if they don't take it seriously, maybe there are issues which are not taken in consideration, or maybe bit and bobs of the project is not being successfully completed before it is handed over to the customer, or the project final phases because it's overlooked. So they're proper, maybe requiring some testing or maybe some verification before it is given to the end user, even for health and safety reason. Maybe in the end they will be requiring some commissioning, handing over, some training or induction, depend again on the project nature and then its complexity. And some project, they may be very important to have a proper work done for project closure, and then evaluate the project progress review to see what has been successfully achieved as the baseline, and how we can manage the how did we manage the project, what would have done better, and what lesson have been learned to take it in consideration for future project to avoid repeating the same mistake. So when we say project closure, what exactly we mean by project closure? Project closure phase is the last and final phase in project life cycle, as we all know. But project closure involves handing over the deliverables, the key milestone, to your customers, the end user, passing the documentation to the business owner, or again canceling the supplier contracts, for example, or any subcontract work, releasing staff and equipment, and again information informing all the key stakeholders of the closure of the project, and making it clear that the project is at the end phase, to be ensuring that all work has completed successfully, and the end users are taken in confidence that they will be agreed and willing to take the project before you hand over. The purpose of project closeout is to assess the project, to assess the projects rather. When you are assessing the project, it is important to ensure the completion, and again derive, as we said earlier, any lesson learned and best practices to be applied to the future projects, whereas confirming the project has met all sponsor, customers, and all stakeholders requirements to meet their needs and expectations. So that's quite important. According to the Project Management Institute, PMI, body of knowledge, according to their guide, they believe that the project closing process consists of those processes which perform to conclude all activities across all project management process groups to formally complete the project phase or contractual obligations. So this process, the set of groups, when completed, verifies that the defined processes are completed within all of the processes group to close the project or phase as appropriate, and formally establishes that the project or project phase is complete. In other words, project closing is the combination of following when applied to a project: assurance that all the work has been completed, assurance that all agreed upon the project management processes have been executed, and formally recognition of the completion of the project, and everyone among all the stakeholders are agreed that the project is successfully completed. So verifying the all deliverables and the key milestones and being delivered and accepted is one of the fundamental objectives to achieve from project closure phase. So project closure, we have to check and review and then generate the closure report. That's quite important, and we take certain steps to ensure that the final document produced for the project and is used by the senior management to tidy up and if there's any loose ends, and formally close the project. It's also important to concentrate on the activities that require to assist the steering committee to make an information or informed decision about formally declaring the project closure. So project closure need to be approved, and then before the project is handed over to the end user or to the client or the customer, it has to be officially declared that the project is completed. So we need to take certain important steps to ensure that the project is completed. So we need to, as a project team or project manager, to ensure that all milestones are achieved, confirming the completion of all the deliverables, and reviewing all the main or subcontracts, and ensuring the documentation for releasing the resources. Contact or post mortem is sometimes required, and archive the documents, and then there's a reason for celebration to have to get together with the whole team and stakeholder if it is a success story, and there's a reason for celebration. So the project closure, basically we are trying, why would you develop? We need to understand why would we develop a project review or closure report. The reason is it is important, like a checklist, to understand and review the outputs and the success of the project. It's again important to outline the outstanding issues and recommendations while having the detailed activities undertaken to close the project and inform future project for lesson learned. So when we have this all important tick marks and list of the project closure documents are ready, we need to use a magnifying glass to ensure all this small chunk of work, all the nitty-gritty from reviewing the work breakdown structure and going from bottom up, that all the work is completed, nothing is left or nothing is overlooked. And that is important because the project closure key components mean that we have to look for any payment to be released, or any direct indirect cost, or any direct kind of variable or fixed cost. Everything is being financially closed, and we have to also make sure that all funding that being received from the sponsor and all receivable project advances, travel advances, fixed variable cost, advances to vendor being liquidated and transferred to another project number, for example, and have all the payables being paid and nothing is outstanding when the project closure document is completed and is ready for financial closing. Project financial closing means that the date when the construction, for example, or completion, if it's a construction project, if the project is closed, is completed, so the project is fully committed, and we have to make sure that the advances or any project financial closing basically has to obtain the drawdown of the any finances that is required to be completing for any dues or payment. So financial close is a stage with a high degree of variation in market practices among justifying that financial closure has been carried out, and all the main or subcontractors or any other suppliers, their dues have been cleared, or if any payment was expected from the main sponsors or funding bodies that has been received in the account, and if there's a surplus money that has to be marked, and either depend if that's extra money can be distributed as a reward among all the project team for celebration and recognition and acknowledgement, or it can be then transferred to another project in the queue. Project closure also requiring to close the not just the finance, but also is important to close the contracts, both primary and secondary contracts. And then we need to think for auditing if it's required, and then reviewing the report, and again record all the data, and if it is required for future auditing the contract, any primary or secondary contract, we have to have these documents in our repositories for number of audit reason. Closure contract, we need to think about the formal closure of all contracts or subcontracts, review the deliverables achieved, if there is any outsourcing, even if there is any offshoring contract, including the internal legal closing procedures and external closing procedures, they have to be taken in consideration. When we say internal closeout, all the activities required by the organization and by contract, such as terminating the contract for moving out the operation, relieving personnel, contract or other resources. And then external closure means that the legal termination of any contract supporting during the project, including acceptance of deliverables from or through outsourcing or contract with the different contractors. So that's again important. The term contract closure refers basically to the process of completing all tasks and terms that are mentioned as deliverables and outstanding on the initial draft of the contract. In order for a contract to be ultimately and conclusively closed, it is important for the project manager and the team to ensure that all components are delivered and all the set objectives are completed. So at the final phase of the project life cycle, at this stage it is important that when contract is terminated, the parties to the contract are no longer obliged to perform their obligation under the contract. They may involve issuing notice or notices setting out the ground for termination of work, allowing warning periods, and even giving the opportunity to any remedy or bridges. So contract closure is concerned with completing and setting the terms of the contract let for the project. So it supports the project completion process because the contract closure process determines if the work described in the contract was completed accurately and satisfactorily. So that is more important for the project management team and the project manager point of view in particular. So we need then sit together as a project team for administration or administrative closure. We close out all the books, including the accounts books, logs for all the important project components, set up the project archives or file for repositories, handle the equipment or facilities, do administrative closeout for activities that are required for reassigning of personnel and other resources, deployment of resources, documents required by if it is need approval and review by the sponsor. So we do both administrative closure, and the first step is internal, and then we have external. So internally we have to see for all the operational activities to be reported, and the repositories need to be updated for future as lesson learned. And external closeout, we need to review the activities established with other working groups or commercial activities, including formal and informal coordination with different groups they were involved as key stakeholder. So when we sit down together, we review, and as a final meeting for the project closure, so all the key important player of the project, they need to think and do brainstorming session to list and review the things that went right and the things that did not go well, or the things that went rather wrong. We need to learn lesson from it, provide an opportunity to identify issues that could be avoided in future project, and to eliminate the same pitfalls or repeating the same mistakes. It paves the way for calibration on future project, and rather making more strong understanding for calibration for long term for any kind of new project or any new venture to work as a team. However, we need to do the assessment according to the Association of Project Management, APM. Project closure is a time to take stock, assess the successes and failures, and take learning or taking the lesson learned that we can transfer to the future project. But so often the stage of the project is sometimes the closure stage of the project is overlooked, or it is ignored or neglected. So project manager are already moving into the next assignment or the new project, rather to close down and sit together with the project team to review and assess what did work and what did not work, and they want to get the things wrapped up before they go to be getting engaged or busy with the new assignment. So that is one of the key mistakes according to the Association of Project Management. So the review of the issues or the abnormal events that cause significant change to the project, that's need to be undertaken as a lesson learned for future to make a final report. So what lessons are learned? We summarize all the lesson, make a quick recommendation for future project to put in the repositories for our own benefit, or anybody else get involved doing the same kind of project in future can look into this document for key recommendation to identify the potential risks or any other important lesson learned that can be applied in the project to avoid repeating the same mistake. So the final report needs to be finalized. That is the key finder, because the final document that assesses the success of the project or its failure. Also they have the catalog, the key deliverables, and official the approval for declaring the project closed. It is the primary objective of the project closure report is to provide a complete picture of the success story or the failure or any pitfalls in the project. So a project closure report describes how we intended to complete the project and how it is closed down. The closure report confirms that the objective have been achieved successfully, the deliverables have been handed over to the end users or customer, and the project closure basically has been reported with the approval to terminate the project. And every project key team leader or the project basically the project manager needs to complete a project closure report to gain agreement from the key sponsors or the executive board that the project is officially ready for closure. Once the project closure report has been approved, the manager can proceed with the action needed to close the project appropriately and swiftly. We need to think that the project performance, product performance, the end outcome of the project for review, and administrative performance, team member performance, all the core team and the other key stakeholders benefited established, because the benefits are the end benefits. If there's realized, that can be the reason for project success. So how the benefits are established and how they are realized need to be documented in the final report. So the key close out elements we can see in this graphical illustration, that how the project key elements need to be taken in consideration again to understand all the lessons learned within the project life cycle are documented, and we have a project closer checklist, and we have the project checkout or checklist for closeout. It is quite important for the project manager to understand and evaluate the business outcome, what is the final product and outcome of the project before it is closed down. So finishing the work and handing over the product, gaining acceptance for the product, harvesting the benefit, reviewing how it all went, so we can close down the task and we can then disbanding the team. So that's quite a good illustration in this graphical. You can see in presentation how we can do to take in our consideration to take action for key elements before we close the project. What benefit are achieved, how the benefit will be realized. So the project benefits are basically referred to as the measurable improvement delivering or deriving from the or coming out as the outcome of the project pursued as an advantage by one or more key end users or beneficiaries or stakeholders, which contribute to the achievement of one or more organizational objective. So we look how the project was aligned to the organization strategic objective and how the key benefit, the expectation from project are realized. So the benefit realization, we are looking for typical challenges. What is exactly the benefit? We understand the key objective or the outcome, and maybe it is aligned to support the growth of the business. Define initially to justify funding, or business case approved to justify as reviewed in this initial stage or the preliminary stage of the project planning. And what to measure and how to measure is quite important challenge. So we need to realize it means to ensure that the benefit are basically derived from the output. A benefit realization plan is a key document, needs to outline the activities necessary for achieving the planned benefit. So processes for determining the extent to which each project or program or portfolio can benefit, or the benefit can be achieved as prior to the formal closure of the project. So benefit realization management is one of the many ways of managing how time and resources and cost are invested into making desirable change or a certain set objective as key benefits to be realized. So benefit realization management has key fundamental or four main definitions or key fundamental you can say explanation. That the first one is to consider that the benefit management as an organization brings certain change as the outcome or the final product. So would that be achieved? And then we're going to look into what are the expected desired outcome that going to be achieved, and the end beneficiaries and the end user, would they achieve the last benefit from the project, and exactly how the project will contribute to enhance or improve for the reason the project was designed as it was justified initially in the business case. So the map need we look into the realization and then we look to review, identify as plan and deliver as the cycle for the key benefit management to see the alignment of the benefit with the organization strategic objective, how it will fit within the benefit maps and how they are fit for the purpose for which the project was initiated, and how the benefit will be profiled, and then the realization plan needs to be documented, and this all important during the program or portfolio of the project defining. But again, it's important to revisit throughout the program and review if the benefit need to be really delivering the end product or gonna be helpful to give the benefit to the end beneficiaries. So we look to the benefit map with a visual representation of the project goals and the way we assume this goal will be achieved, or they reach to the desired outcome. So a benefit map basically contains different levels. It can be applied in various form in which various level can be left out, or we can see to review the outcome of the project before it is handed over to the end user. So benefit mapping is one of the main tools of the benefit management. Basically, we basically looking to the business case and then compare with the benefit realized. And we can see here in this graphical illustration as a map that what is being achieved, what was desired, and what was the justification of the business. So we looking to apply and review time to time when we have project progress review to ensure that the set objective and the outcome of the project will be achieved by end of the project. So then we are trying to see what is also required as the end of the project governance and senior management, what their commitment were available as it was assured or ensured in the beginning. And again, it is important that the project manager has to create a close relationship with the top executive, that all the necessary benefit will be achieved only if there is a support available and we have the right governance in the project management methodology, and we have the right processes and procedures, and all the top level senior executives, they are committed to the project and they are both entrusted, and they are supportive. The best if practice across the portfolio we have to see, then we try to understand what is the common terminologies for benefit reporting, benefit review, and full scope of business change. That is where the project bring or is initiated as justified in the business case and supported by the sponsors or the top executive to have the right governance in place to achieve the desired outcome from initiating certain project. So post project review that is needed to be implemented, that what was initially pre-project progress or plan was initiated and the business case was developed. So now after the project is executed, we need to review down the line that the project is handed over and it is now commissioned. So we have to review post-project review is important to understand if the end benefits are realized. So capture the lesson and feed them back, because this is how the Harvey Meller in the first lecture we discussed the 4 Ds of the defining a project and then designing, doing and then developing. So the 4 Ds basically in the define initial stage we have to develop the project initiation charter and project business case for justification, and then we move to the next stage when we basically design, do all the planning to develop the project master plan, PMP, and then we basically do or we deliver the project as the execution when we do monitoring and control to ensure everything is on track as per our calculation and baseline, and then we develop, that is the end when we close the project and develop the manual for using that product or service, as well as developing different lesson learned to avoid the pitfall or same mistake to repeat in future. And we update our repositories and we develop all the important documents and the final project report. So that is again important to review by end of the project to have the post implementation review that the project is commissioned, handed over, and all went well and all is in success. Complete of the end of the chapter is just like completion of our project. So this is one of the projects that you all worked at during this difficult time with the virtual delivery online. Now we have to review. So as a project manager, work hard to get the best out of their team and drive projects to success. Please read the article, the most complete project closure process you will ever need, and share your thoughts and ideas on the discussion forum for week 12. though we tried during this um, lockdown period to make sure that the lessons are pre-recorded for you, though it is hard. It is not face to face, it's not campus based, it's all virtual online, but I do appreciate the efforts of every individual who attended the weekly workshop, and you try to give spare time to listen the quite a lengthy theory with this within this unit, a quite mix of the area of operation, the project, and chapters of coming with the idea of the operation with marketing, even the aviation. So it's quite intensive unit, but you all, anyone or all of you who have put efforts and done excellent work is a lifetime learning. Wish you all the best, and please do read the remaining last chapters for project closure from your core and recommended book, and submit your second assignment on time. Keep safe. Wish you all the best, and hopefully we will meet another point for another lesson. Okay, bye bye.